What's up guys, it's Drac, and the blaster that Jinx is currently giving the old sniff test to is none other than the Final Condition by Sandshark Labs. Jinx, what do you think? What is the Final Condition? Well, front to back, you know, it's a lot of tactical rails. It's a very interesting thumb hole stock. It's electronic, question mark, because it has an on-off switch, but it's also mechanical because it has a pump grip. It's, you know, clearly a lot of different things. It's a real Schrodinger's cat. Schrodinger's? It's a real Schrodinger's blaster. It's everywhere and nowhere and somewhere in between. Part electronic, part mechanical, clearly a half length, but also a full length blaster. And of course, it takes shells, because all these homebrews take shells for some reason. It's a double barreled blaster, and yet each shell holds 3 or 6. What an enigma inside a question, inside a query this thing is. But the one thing it most certainly is the Final Condition. So this is a review model from my friend over at Sandshark Labs. I will be sending it back at the end of this video, and you can in fact purchase it if you wish from his Etsy down in the description box below. I think that he sells the files if you want to hazard your hand at building one of these yourself for around like $10, $15, somewhere in there. And then the hardware kit if you want to build one, but you don't necessarily, you want the pleasure of assembly, but you don't want to do all of the printing and all the yada yada and source all of your screws and all of your motors and what have you, is a little north of $100. So this is not a cheap blaster in any stretch of the imagination. It's also incredibly laborious to get something like this together, and I would say it's more than a little fickle as well. We had a little bit of troubleshooting getting it together. Ours is functional now, fully ready to go, and I will say it's extremely fun. It's like, of all the project blasters out there, it has the most going for it. It is goofy. It has multiple triggers in that it is a 2-stage trigger. Click, clack. You could do that 1 and then 2, or you could do it 1 into 2. The trigger mechanism, along with the shell ejection system, is elastic powered. So each Final Condition comes with a litany of greeblies and goblins to change, modulate, fix, etc. Anything that could go wrong with it. That includes extra rails, because the thing has lots and lots of rails on it. It includes an adapter that cuts you down from an XT60 to an XT30 if you want to use smaller batteries. This thing runs on 2S or 3S, but the thing that's really interesting that it comes with is it comes with a bunch of fuses. Now, these fuses are a relatively low gauge compared to the wiring that's used in the blaster, so I'm not ashamed to admit I might have burned out a couple trying to get my FPS up. No muss, no fuss. It runs on 2S or 3S. I've got it fully functional right now, and I do want to show you its features. So I'll put aside my Jorge Spravin slingshot channel impression, because nobody could cast a shadow that guy does, and I'll just go strictly over it. Like I said, there's a tack rail here and here, an incredibly modular build, especially if you're building it yourself. Print the set that you like the most. There are 3 barrel lengths. This is the short one. You could also swap this out or extend it. You could make it a long boy, give it a longer barrel. You can also extend the stock like this. So it's currently in its shorty stock. It could be longer. That's relevant because the fuse and the battery fit into this, this rectangle back here. So right now I got a pretty chunky 2S in there, but the whole fuse setup takes up a lot of space because the fuse itself is in a protected, capped over, insulated bit. It's pretty cool. Then you have, like I said, there's 2 safeties. There's the electronic cutoff down here. Forward is fire. So that's on. And then there's a mechanical safety down in here. Clicking it all the way back lets you use both triggers, halfway lets you use 1 trigger, and then all the way forward locks out the trigger. But like I said, it is a shell blaster. And so it's kind of real, I don't know, it's got a super sci-fi aesthetic. It reminds me of like manga from like the early 2000s, like, I don't know, Air Gear, Buso Rankin aesthetic almost. But the motor cages are on the side. These Frankenstein bolts are not just for show. Each of these has an out of darts, I think they might even be 180 sized motor. They're pretty chunky, and then they're turning 2 wheels inside the barrel setup there. So those wheels throw the darts. They're not like traditional flywheels. They're 3D printed cylinders that are capable of throwing multiple darts at once. So this has 3 half lengths in it. Let's click that. into place. And then this one also has 3 half lengths in it, different flavors of half length, but if store-bought is out of your budget, homemade is fine. We're gonna click forward, which engages this and primes the elastic. We're gonna rev, triple shot, and triple shot. So it's, like I said, it's fun. And then my favorite part, we'll slow-mo this for the camera, is when you prime it back again, you get that very satisfying. You love to see it. You love to see the shell ejecting action. If you're gonna design a goofy shell blaster, if you're gonna force your users to have shells for their blasters, take it from me, it needs to eject them. Like, you gotta get a little back, give a little, and you want the real shell eject action. So these are both, I couldn't tell you. I think one of these is full length, one of these is half length. The easiest way to figure it out though is to fire. So like I said, you've got this kind of port up here. You can click these in, they're symmetrical. Up is down, down is up. Click those into place. Forward to make sure that you're fully seated. And then hopefully my camera moves off to the side here. So the blast of 6 is remarkably satisfying. This thing is cool. Is it the most practical competitive blaster of our time? Certainly not. But you know, it is an awesome STEM project. It is a ton of fun. It would be a good challenge blaster. A lot of 3D printed parts, a lot of places where you have to be very delicate, make sure your wire is measured correctly. You can see these are wires going to those motor cages that actually move. So they're flexing every time. And anytime you have wires moving mechanically for each cycling, you know, you just need to be aware of it. If they're the wrong length, you could be putting stress on them every time. So I did not build this model. This is from the creator itself, who has a serious checklist that he goes through before these things ship. So lots of good stuff going on. Does this say that his files are Creative Commons? So you could print them for yourself or a friend, don't charge them. And if you want to sell them, you have to agree with him. But oh, it's Creative Commons non-commercial. Totally makes sense. Really neat. Please keep long hair away from flywheels. Yeah, I bet. Because they're huge cylinders. I'm not going to bother chronographing it. It gets the performance you'd expect from something that is using this much motor and a lipo, but also like high concavity, high crush flywheels. I mean, it's shooting these things 3 at a time. It'll shoot less at a time, of course, but it is an amalgamation of so many different things. It's so satisfying. Are these full lengths? These are. So these are elite darts, actually. 6 elite darts, 1 shot, 1 kill. Thumbnail's gonna go hard on this one, I can tell already. Since I have 2 more shells, I'll show you a staggered shot just because I can. Hats off to Sandshark Labs. Like I said, this is just a review model. It happens to be a review model in Drac colors. The old Halloween scheme goes hard, black, red, and a little touch of orange so that, you know, everybody knows that you're about that safety. I like the orange you use. It's a little different than our orange that we use over at Foam Pro Shop. It's got a real metallic twang to it. You know, Duke's mayonnaise, it's got twang in it. Oh, geez. This thing is awesome. It's got a very unique aesthetic. It's got an incredibly unique functionality to it in a world where a lot of people are just remixing the same innards into different shells, and there's nothing wrong with that. There are a lot of really cool shells out there. Something that's so clearly designed with fun and end user experience in mind definitely deserved a feature on the channel. It's pretty slick. I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure you check out his Etsy down in the description box below. I've been Drac. This has been The Final Condition, and you just got nerfed. Much love, blast out.